Hi everyone! Welcome back to the Greenius podcast, where we ask big questions using small words. Today's episode starts somewhere most of us probably don't even think about: the ground beneath our feet. Because soil is alive, it has stories, and it quietly holds together everything we depend on. Today I'm joined by Cecilia Braidy from the Emirates Soil Museum, someone who has made it her mission to help us see what we usually ignore. In this conversation, we talk about why soil matters, especially in the UAE, what we're really getting wrong, and what might change if we simply start paying attention. And don't worry, no complicated science terms. I checked. So let's dig in.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm good. Thank you. So good to see you.
It's so good to see you. Are you sitting in the Swiss Alps?
Yeah, I'm in Swedish mountains.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. So how have you been since we last met?
Good. Thank you so much. And you?
Yeah, fine. All good.
Yeah.
Yes. And how is the school now? You're doing some home learning?
Yeah,
Is
so
it okay?
it's good. We're all online, but it's okay
Yeah.
because all our teachers are
Exactly.
great. So that's
hmm
good.
Super. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, cool. Let's get started.
Yeah.
So I think that childhood sort of shapes us more than we tend to realize. You grew up in the beautiful Sweden, which feels
Yes.
like one of those places where nature is just like embedded into everyday life.
Yeah.
Forests, snow, seasons. What was your childhood really like? And do you think growing up in that environment sort of shaped the way you see the world now?
Yes, Bella, I think so. I grew up in Sweden, in Stockholm, in a small
Mm-hmm.
suburb outside, and I've always, since young, been out climbing trees, and there's a small lake called Råstasjön where
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to bike. In the winters we used to ice skate on the little lake, picking leaves, feeding the ducks, and so I think, and also Stockholm, the capital of Sweden, is situated on 14 islands with,
Oh,
so
wow.
there's water everywhere, and we have over like 100,000 islands in the archipelago.
Wonderful.
So I think that's, set sort of like a love for nature, I think, from a young age. Yeah.
Yeah. And I sometimes wonder whether the people who work in environmental fields were the outdoor kids, climbing trees, swimming in lakes, or whether that was a passion that sort of developed later. What was it like for you? Were you someone who loved being outside from the beginning, or was it something that grew on you a bit more?
Yes. No, I think so. Being like, for example, on the street where we lived, my friends, we would be going out biking, picking flowers, doing all sorts of things in nature. I mean, growing up in Sweden, already from, kindergarten, I remember the walk was maybe 25 minutes. And, my mom or dad and I used to walk that, daily,
Wow.
or biking, which which is great. And it doesn't matter, because of course in Sweden we have the four seasons, and it could be, fall, raining, cold, snow, summer, it doesn't matter. You're always outside. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
hmm
So it was kind of a general part of life for you, right?
Yes, exactly.
Did
And
you, yeah.
also in Sweden, we have something called allemansrätten,
Mm-hmm.
which is the right of public places.
Wow,
So
okay.
anyone in Sweden can basically go anywhere, even on private grounds, whether it
Wow.
be the forest, example, if you're kayaking in Sweden in the summer,
Mm-hmm.
I did that this summer with a couple of friends and our daughter Talia, and then we stayed like at a little bridge, and
Wow.
we could see that a summer house was just like maybe 60, 80 meters away. But
Yeah.
we could stop there and have our little picnic and go for a little swim, and that is fine. But of course, you have to respect nature and pick up after you.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that, recycling we have been doing in Sweden since the 1970s. So,
Wow.
like basically, mid 70s, I was born, right? So we are so used to not littering in
Yeah.
nature. You know what I mean? And taking care of it. So it's really amazing that you can do that in Sweden. And you can also set up a fire. Okay, if you're going to go camping for maybe a couple of days, you would need to call the owner, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, for a couple of hours or something, you are allowed to do that as long as you know, respect nature, animals, and so on.
Wonderful. And did you have a sort of favorite place in Sweden growing up?
Yes, I mean, this Råstasjön, like I was telling you about, and there's also Hagaparken,
Okay.
which is this like sort of beautiful grounds, you know, huge grass lawns. And once when I was like 12 years old, I remember
Yeah.
it was my mom's birthday, and my dad had booked a horse carriage.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
yes, this horse carriage, you know, like it was July, my mom's birthday was in July, came and picked us up, you know, outside our apartment. And I was thinking, what? I could hear it's like a horse, you know, clamping, clamping. And then I saw this horse carriage and I like run to my dad, you know, and he's like, yeah, surprise, surprise. So the
Yeah.
horse carriage, you know, took us through this beautiful park into town because we were going to a restaurant and celebrate my mom's birthday. And that is something, I mean, I will never forget. It was
That's
really cool.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you said before about the fact that recycling was kind of very much a part of life in Sweden. Let's talk about that. In the small moments, do you think you really realized how much impact you were making, or was it something that you kind of dawned on you later on that, oh, that made such a big impact at the time?
Yes. No, I think it's a part of like growing up, you know, with recycling, plastic, paper, glass, and not littering, you know, in nature. That when I then at a young age, we also lived in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I was so surprised, you know, seeing all the kind of garbage, unfortunately,
Yeah.
you know, and it just really struck me like, wow, why are people throwing out things, you know, sort of left, right, and center, you
Yeah,
know?
of course.
So that's, you know, it's something that is really close to my heart. And we live in a building here in Dubai, and I have been here, fortunate now to be here for 27 years. And I think, yeah, we're not many of us in this building who are recycling, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to do my bit because I grew up with it, you know?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course. It's kind of a part of you. And
exactly.
another thing that's very close to your heart is soil,
Yes.
which is honestly might be the most misunderstood thing on the planet. People walk on it every day and they flick it off their shoes and they barely think about it. When did
Exactly.
soil stop just being dirt and started being something important to you?
Yeah, I was fortunate to work with the Water Alliance, an NGO in the UAE, and then at the time we went to ICBA, which is the International Center for Biosaline Agriculture, and we were celebrating Soil Day. And that's on the
Okay,
5th of December every year. And
wonderful.
so we were a bunch of, you know, school kids, families, volunteers, you know, playing some games and so on. And that's when I got in touch with ICBA. And I'm now very fortunate that for 3 years I'm a freelancer and I can bring people and show them the Emirates Soil Museum.
That's so
So
cool.
it's kind of recent, I would say, that I must admit that, you know, I never really thought of soil that much.
Yeah,
It's more in the recent years. Yes, yes.
that's good. And what's the first thing you'd say to someone when they told you that they thought that soil was very boring and meaningless?
Wow. Soil is an amazing. Soil is more important than both air and water. And
Wow.
it's an activator. It's a protector. We cannot survive without soil. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, in one small teaspoon, there is more microbes than the population of the entire planet.
No, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, go. Were you gonna say something?
Yes, no, I also just wanted to say that, you know, soil is not something that we can just make, you know.
Of
It
course,
takes
yeah.
hundreds of years to make proper, healthy soil. And that's why it's really sad that globally around 25 million tons of soil
Whoa,
is eroded due to climate change and
that's
weathers. Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, that's really crazy fact.
Everyone really talks about saving water and saving trees. But from what I've learned, the more I realize that soil is connected to everything: food, climate, plants, even biodiversity. If soil suddenly disappeared, what's the first thing that people would notice?
Wow. I mean, soil and water are so connected.
Yeah.
And humans, plants, and animals, we cannot survive without it. Because if we do not have healthy soil, we cannot grow the crops we need. And
course,
we
yeah.
know by 2050, we're going to need 60% more food than what we need, today. And that's why it's so vital that we are taking care of our soils
Of course.
today.
Thank you. And the Emirates Soil Museum is such a
Yes.
unique idea because a lot of people don't expect soil to have a museum. It would be bones, it would be dinosaurs, but it would never be soil. What
Yes.
inspired you to put yourself in the middle of a space where people can actually see, touch, and learn about soil in a hands-on, interactive way?
Yes, it's amazing. In 2016, the Emirates Soil Museum was established at the ICBA grounds, and it's unfortunately not open to the public. But we bring, school students, university students, sometimes corporates, and showcase our beautiful gem. It's really a little pearl. And one day I'll take you there, Bella, I promise.
Yes.
It's really to showcase the importance of our soil in this region, because different parts of the world have different types of soil, depending on the 4 seasons, right? And I can proudly say that UAE boasts 74 different types of soils.
Wow. That's amazing. And do you have a favorite memory of like maybe a student or person who came to the museum and kind of learned a lot? Do you have like any memory?
I would say that in all the groups that I give a sort of 30-minute lecture, about the Soil Museum and soil, I would say there is always so many aha, oh, really moments, and people, I mean, I'm not blaming them, right? Because, but what I try to say is that we should start discussing soil more, like as a topic by the dinner table, with your families. Because it's such a vital, important,
Resource, in a way,
texture and resource.
Yeah, of course. You spoke about the reactions that people are getting.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite exhibit that really makes people go, "Oh my God"?
Yes, we have like 3 different glass jars, like a big box. So in one of them we have sand, and then we have silt, and we have clay. So we have the people come and touch it, and they feel differently, sensory texture. So then I say that we need around 40% sand, 40% silt, and 20% clay to get something called loam. But of course, to make soil, you also need the bedrock that is, 3-4 kilometers below the ground. And then you need time, air, sun, water. We need natural organisms like fungi. Earthworms are really important, and of course, matter like dead animals, leaves, and so on.
Of course,
and then throw in some composting and biochar, and we'll have some healthy soil.
That's great. And do you have like a favorite like soil superhero, like an organism, like a worm or like a leaf that really helps?
Wow. Well, I mean, if I can say maybe a little larger plant, I am very fond of the goth tree that is the national tree of the UAE, for example. And that is a very resilient tree that can withstand harsh weather, harsh winds, The roots penetrate 30, 40 meters below ground. And also the leaves in the morning dew, they kind of take the water in as well, and it's very kind of like a circle, biodiversity, because insects and birds like to hide in it. At the same time, camel and goats like to sort of nibble on the leaves. And also in the Bedouin tribes, back maybe 100 years ago or more, for example, if you had an upset stomach, you can boil the gaff leaf, and then, your stomach would ease a bit. Like today, we would drink a chamomile tea, or like a peppermint, to feel more calm in the stomach. Yeah,
that's such a cool fact.
Yes.
And if anyone listening wants to help the environment but feels a little bit overwhelmed by everything they hear, because you have all these different ideas that companies give you, like, oh my God, use like a bioconstructible straw, or don't use plastic. What do you think about understanding soil gives them a bit more of a grounded starting point?
Yes, I think that if we it's amazing, of course, that many schools, both locally and globally are discussing, nature, sustainability, because it really starts, like with you're an environmental ambassador, right? It starts with the young, and you need to change the mindset of sometimes, older parents or grandparents, I think it's really important that we are discussing these things to take care of our nature. But I also think that nature is very resilient.
Yes.
Even though we have climate catastrophes and we have more storms and we have more hot climate, I have the hope that Mother Earth will, survive.
Yes.
Of course, we need to do our bit as well. I'm not saying that, but I Mother Earth is very resilient as well.
Yeah, like the Earth kind of gives back tenfold.
Yes.
What's a little something you do at home that kind of like does your part in a way?
Yes. Well, I do the recycling,
course,
trying also to do batteries. I try to give batteries away to the proper places. And then, plastic, paper, and glass.
Yes.
We live in an apartment, and I would love to do composting, but I haven't started that yet. But that is something that definitely I think that more people could get into, to either have in their garden, or give it away. There are some companies where you can, receive the waste lab, for example. You can receive the bucket, and then they will come and pick it up and give you a new bucket, and either you can use it for your garden or flowers and trees, or they will use it at farming lands in the UAE. So that's great.
It's great, and it's great to hear that you're so material conscious about what you're doing.
Yes. And also, we have filtered water at home. I'm not buying the plastic bottles. No.
That's really good. That's an awesome way to do it if you're not buying those big jerry cans.
Exactly.
Do you think young people are starting to begin to understand how connected everything in nature really is? Like the water and the soil?
Yes, I think both yes and no. Unfortunately, I've heard some facts lately. Actually, Alan brought that up on the wonderful Nature Wave conference. Teenagers between kind of 13 and 17 are a little bit disconnected with nature.
That's true, yeah.
Of course, I'm not saying all, right?
Of course, yeah, the majority.
Yeah, but I would say majority. Unfortunately, I think social media has a lot to do with it.
Of course.
Our oldest daughter, Elsa, who's 22, she didn't have an iPad, there was no iPhone. She didn't watch television until she was 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were always out, in the park and climbing, and I'm afraid that maybe, but not only teenagers. I think young children and also adults need to get out more in nature, to deal, both also to sleep better, and be healthier, right? But also to love, and see, go out and explore,
Yeah, because everything in nature is connected, but we have to remember that includes us as well. We are also connected in this ecosystem.
Exactly.
Yeah. And after working and studying so much with soil, what still amazes you about it? Like, what's still one thing you can't get over? You're like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, every time, I'm reading about soil, I'm learning something new, and please, I'm not a soil scientist, who have like a PhD in this, but it's just it's a fascinating subject, and there is just so much to learn, and it's not rocket science, you know. And I would love to visit, for example, the first soil museum is in Moscow, Russia, and we could say the first soil guru was Dr. Vasily Dukachev. This is the end of the 1800s, you know, in Russia.
Oh, wow.
And they have a huge, beautiful soil museum that I hope to one day visit. And yeah, and there's a few countries in the world that have a soil museum. So if you ever get the chance, go and visit one.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And if you could change a behavior that people tend to act towards soil or a thought that they have starting tomorrow, what would you really want them to understand or do?
Yes, I would just want them to respect, you know, soil and water, and not be, you know, taking it for granted, for example, because that is, you know, it's a huge part of it, right? And learn more. And I mean, I don't say that, you know, you need to have a university degree in just, you know, the subject of soil, but just to kind of be a little bit more mindful. And yeah.
Thank you. And what's your best example of a change you made that you saw doing good?
Well, I mean, we have, for example, sometimes at the with my team members at the Soil Museum, sometimes we give workshops. We give the Living Soil workshop, and that's when you interact, and you're like 6, 7 players, kind of, and then we lay out some cards and discuss kind of, you know, how you make soil, what are the components. We discuss soil, and it's kind of like a workshop for like an hour and a half. And I wish that, you know, everybody could do that workshop, because it's just a fun way of learning.
Thank you. And finally, what gives you hope for the future?
Wow, you give me hope.
Oh, thank you.
You know, with your Greenius podcast, and, you know, being you know, environmental ambassador for your school, you know, and I think children definitely, you know, bringing hope to the future, and I'm sure we're gonna, you know, we're gonna make it, and the soil is gonna survive. I mean, it has to.
Oh, thank you. And now let's do my favorite part, which is the rapid fire.
Wow, rapid fire. Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Swedish forest or Arabian desert?
Ooh, hard one. Balance, but okay. Swedish forest.
Yeah. What's one smell that immediately reminds you of nature?
Oh, wow. It's a summer rain, when it rains on the grass in Sweden.
Wow.
That is something I miss. Yeah.
Awesome. Worms, heroes, or misunderstood?
Oh, worms.
Yeah? Totally?
Yeah, totally.
Gardening or hiking?
Ooh, I mean, I love flowers and plants, but yeah, I am not such a huge hiker, but I would say hiking.
Oh, great. Sunrise or sunset?
Ooh, sunset.
Awesome.
Totally.
If soil had a personality, would it be calm or chaotic?
Wow. Well, I think a little bit of both, because I think with all the sort of fungi and how should I say, minerals and water, of course, is huge. I mean, soil has so much life, you know, that's like bustling with energy, you know. But at the same time, you could say that, you know, like in a forest, maybe it's calm. Yeah, a bit of both.
Awesome. Is soil a big city or a small town?
Wow, interesting. Well, I mean, I would say it's a big city, because, you know, I mean, the earth is kind of covered, I mean, on land, right? Covered with soil. So I think we would have to say kind of like a big planet.
Awesome. Yeah. And what's one place in nature where you feel completely at peace?
Yeah, wow. I think by the ocean. I love water. Yeah.
Well, this is such an amazing episode. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did very much. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Well, that was so great. Thank you so much for being here. This was amazing.
Super. I'm so glad. And I hope to see you soon.
Yes, of course. Definitely.
Yes.
Cecilia, tack for coming and joining us here on the Greenius. To those listening, that means a very big thank you in Cecilia's language, Swedish. It's kind of amazing that something we walk on every day is also something we barely notice. But maybe that's the point. Noticing is truly where everything starts. and I really don't think I'll ever look at soil the same way again. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who needs a small reminder that big change doesn't always start big. And next time you step outside, just pause for a second. You're standing on the very thing that's been supporting us for a very, very long time. See you next time on the Greenius podcast. Catch you on the green side.